Jikook Is Back. Jungkook and Jimin's nostalgic moment in the studio made me cry. Seoul, early morning. The atmosphere of HYB's studio, which is usually filled with instrument sounds and technical discussions, that night contained only two voices that the world had never forgotten: Jimin and Jungkook. Not because they're rehearsing for a new release, not even because of the filming of the content, but for one simple and wonderful reason. They returned to the place that once united them, the studio where Jikook first created music together, and the moment was recorded. Not intentionally, but enough to make millions of soldiers cry. The news first emerged from a brief post by HYB staff on an internal platform. A blurry photo shows Jimin sitting cross-legged on the studio floor, staring at a screen, while Jungkook is behind the keyboard, wearing a baggy hoodie and an expression that's hard to describe, a mix of nervousness, happiness, and lost. A few minutes later, Weverse officially uploaded a 1-minute and 15-second clip, without filters. No background music, only the quiet sounds of the studio, the light laughter, and the quiet chatter between the two people seemed to finally talk again after too long a time of silence. Jim's voice sounded, "Remember this place? We used to sleep on the floor because mixing songs wasn't done." Jungkook replied with a wry smile, his eyes glazed. "Yes. And you're mad because I forgot to bring ramen." Their laughter broke out small. But afterwards, there was a long, painless silence. It was warm. The camera continues to record, and there is seen something much deeper than nostalgia: recovery. Because for the first time after the rumors, the pressure, and the old wounds, Jikook sat side by side again in the room that raised them. What broke ARMY's heart the most, though, was when Jimin played back one of their old audio files, a recording of their vocal rehearsals for a song that was never released. The song sounds rough, rudimentary, but the voices of both, competing, supporting each other, flow honestly. Jimin whispered, "At that time, we didn't know it would be this far, huh?" Jungkook nodded, then looked at him and said, "And still be able to come back here, it's not luck. That's because we never really left each other." Thousands of fans made tearful reaction videos, composing fan art about the studio's moments, and even made recovers of their old duet songs, such as "We Don't Talk Anymore" and "Friends." Many write they're not coming back to perform. They're coming back for each other. And that's probably the most touching of all. In the middle of the crowd, Jungkook's Instagram account suddenly uploaded a studio photo from the corner of the room: chair, cable, and 2 empty coffee cups. The caption is just one sentence: "Some beginnings are worth repeating." A few hours after that, Jimin posted on Weverse, "Tonight, we didn't make a song. We just remember why we started." And from there, everyone knows, Jikook is not just a duet couple. They are two souls who grew up together, survived, and found their way home, despite getting lost. Since that night, the echo of Jikook's voice in the studio has continued to echo in the hearts of the ARMY. Not only because they saw the two BTS members together again after such a long time, but because of the way they looked at each other, the way they were silent, and the way they laugh. It all feels like a new chapter is opening after the old. Old sheets are covered with wound dust, and it turns out that night wasn't the only night. 2 days after the first studio video went viral, another clip from HYB's internal platform appeared, a nearly 5-minute video, this time darker and more intimate. The camera is just placed in the corner of the room. No crew, only Jungkook and Jimin. And an acoustic guitar in Jungkook's lap. Jimin sat cross-legged on the floor, wearing Jungkook's oversized hoodie from the Wings era, which he also wore in their 2016 vlog. He leaned against the studio wall, closing his eyes as Jungkook began to pluck the strings slowly. The melody is foreign but warm. Then Jungkook started singing the lyrics that sounded unfinished, as if he was still in the process of searching. "If we met again where no music played, would your silence still feel like home?" Jimin opened his eyes slowly, then without much of a word, resumed his melody. "If I forgot all your notes, would my breath still rhyme with yours?" And there, something happened that language cannot explain. An improvisation. Not just music, but feelings. Two voices that do not compete with each other, but listen to each other. They are not singing to amaze the world. They sing to rediscover each other. The video was not published on the official channel, but only appeared in HYB's private session and was leaked by the staff with a simple but heartbreaking caption. This song has no title, because they have not yet agreed whether it is about parting or about going home. Since then, fans dubbed the song Untitled Home and began to create their own versions of the lyrics based on the sounding pieces. One viral fan art depicts two little boys sitting on a dark studio floor, surrounded by music notes and cold coffee, with one sentence written on it: "We found our harmony again." A few days later, Jimin wrote in Weverse, "Music will not always be broadcast. Sometimes it just has to be heard by two hearts." Shortly after, Jungkook appeared on Instagram Live for the first time in weeks. He looked more relaxed, slightly disheveled hair, wearing a black hoodie that was clearly not his. "I know you want to know a lot of things," he said. "But what I can say, nights like yesterday are not to be shared. That's for us. But I'm glad you're feeling it, too." He smiled slowly, then added, "I don't know if there will be any new songs. But I know now I did not write it myself." The fans began to understand that what they were witnessing was not just a musical collaboration, but the healing process. The process of two human beings who have been hurt by pressure, expectations, and distance, who now chooses to sit back in the same place and start over from the first note. A fan wrote, "Jikook didn't come back to go viral. They came back to heal each other. And we were lucky to see it." And the world calmed down. Now no one knows what will happen after this. Will there be an official duet release? Will there be a new song? Or rather, everything will remain as it was that evening. Simple, honest, and secret. But one thing is certain: Jikook has returned, not as a project, not as content, but as the two names were once lost in the noise of the world, then rediscovered each other in the quiet of the studio that once saved them. And in that silence, the most honest tone was finally heard again. In the fast-paced world of entertainment, where every step is recorded and every second should be in the spotlight, it is difficult to find a completely silent space where a person can be himself, without pressure, without an audience. But that night, in a small studio that used to witness the birth of many BTS songs, Jimin and Jungkook rediscovered the space, not because the camera tells them to smile, not because the producers asked them to sing, but because there was something unfinished between them. Not a quarrel, not a scandal, but rather memories that they need to embrace once more before they can truly step forward. And behind all the ARMY's cries, their little giggles, the simple guitar, an old hoodie, and a long silence, stored a message that could not be written in any of the lyrics. That relationship built by time, by struggle, and by honesty will never really go away. Only sometimes silent, waiting to be rediscovered. Jikook returns not to repeat the past, but to heal its remnants. They came back not because they were asked to, but because their own hearts called out to each other, and when they answered the call with laughter and music, the world breathed a sigh of relief, because among the millions of voices out there, we all know, the most beautiful note is when two best friends finally sing the truth that they have been secretly keeping. Welcome back, Jikook. The world doesn't need big releases. Just know that you're still singing the same song, albeit more quietly now. More honest, and more whole. Now the world is waiting. Will there be a new release? Will there be a new song? But most of the ARMY doesn't care. Because that night, they've got what they missed the most: Jikook in one room. Laugh again, healing again, and sing for the most honest reasons. Not because of the schedule, not because of the camera, but because of the love that never goes away, just had time to be silent. And when that love finally speaks again, the whole world was crying with happiness.